daytime radio days. Sit back, put your feet up, try to feel relaxed, get rid of that big patch of anxiety deep in your stomach, my stomach, all of our stomachs. You know, I know it's there, I know it. Try to put it aside and join Debbie Storz Higgins and myself, Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein, as we talk about everything that's just about fit to print in our own lives, and also many general topics that are on all of our minds right now. And we are going to begin with a little review of what, Debbie? What is our...
Well, we have, everybody has COVID fatigue. And when we're always thinking about our topics, what we're going to talk about. But there's a couple, I realized something about it. There are actually some things I like since COVID. Now that sounds sick and everybody's going to go, Debbie's lost her mind. But I found there are some things that because COVID has everything in a wacky kind of Kiana way, which means life out of balance, it also has made other things that revved up too high slow down. And I noticed a couple of them, and maybe you noticed a couple of them. So I don't know if you want me to start with the
Yeah,
ones.
you start and I'll join in.
Well, just to give a little background, and I know if anybody listened to the show, it's been going on about moving out of my family home. And I really hate going to doctors, but when I was carrying boxes, I missed a step going down the stairs, and I completely tore a muscle in my groin, which was horrendous. And I always think, okay, it's going to get better. I've ridden horses my whole life. I'll shake it off. But I'm 66 now. It didn't shake off so well. So I said, I better go to the doctor. I really didn't know what it was. You envision all these things. Do you have, cancer? Do you have this? What is it? Well, when I went to the doctor, and I'm sure a lot of people have gone, now you make an appointment, but some doctors, and two of my doctors, when you went in their waiting room, it looked like the railroad scene from Gone with the Wind. There were people everywhere, like all kind of laying all over and looking like crazy. Now you wait in the car, you read a nice magazine, or you can eat a sandwich or whatever you're doing, and they call you to come in, and you go right in. And I thought, oh my God, was that great? I absolutely loved it, because otherwise it was stressful. You're sitting with people that you didn't know what they had, and it was just uncomfortable. And so I found that to be amazing, and I wish it would stay that way. And the other thing I noticed is Black Friday. Now, Black Friday has always gone on. I guess it's been a big thing for the past 15 years, the day after Thanksgiving. And as we all know, people trample each other. They go into Walmart, they're knocking fences down, they're ripping TVs out and smashing each other. Well, there's none of that now. There's none of it. And they've the stores have kind of extended Black Friday. It seems like it's 2-week Black Friday now. But they showed all the stores that normally have this crazy, frenzy of nutsy people, and they're waiting in line from midnight to the next morning. None of that. All gone. And I think those are two things that are amazing, and I wish they would stay. So that was my observation.
All right. Well, my reactions are a little bit on a different theme. I have found that being home so much of the time has been kind of restful, and I don't feel like I'm as constantly running places, and I've been forced to experiment with new things. For example, to some extent, I order my food online, and I like that. I think that's really neat.
You order it from the supermarket, Barbara? Where do
I
you order
order it. Yes, I'm going to remain nameless which one I'm using.
it? Okay.
But, you know, why go to the store if things are relatively the same price and I don't jeopardize myself and it just feels it's nothing that I miss. You know, certain things I miss. Like I hope I will live long enough to go to some fabulous department stores again in my life. That's not so easy because a lot of them are folding.
Yeah.
Some of the best are in Europe. There's nothing like walking through a fabulous department store to actually feel as close to ecstasy without a relationship except to the department store.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
Harrods, going through
Yeah,
Harrods or something.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Bergdorf Goodman.
a sense of uplift and fascination, being close to a million people of different ethnicities and from different parts of the world, and tumbling through with them, and then sitting somewhere and getting a tea or some small sandwich to eat, and then going back to the bins again where these beautiful scarves are and whatever, you know, the makeup, the scarves, the cosmetics. And it's like just some sort of joy pouring through me. And certain, but to me, shopping in a supermarket never has been like that. To me, it's just a duty that had to be done. So I enjoy ordering in and I enjoy taking pictures. I've been taking photographs on my cell phone for the last 8 or 9 months of just trees, branches, flowers, um, things that the kids have written on sidewalks, you know, with a lot of chalk, with stay happy and different.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of chalk writing
Yeah,
on the sidewalk.
yeah, and the kids, they're done rainbows and things like that. And so for me, it has been a kind of pleasant experience at home. Um, so, but underlying all of it, I think really as a psychologist, I need to mention that underlying all of it for most of us is the anxiety of either getting sick or having someone we love get sick. And that that is there. And I try to explain to my clients that a lot of the things that happen to them in their bodies, they start to get indigestion or headaches, or they're awake 3 o'clock in the morning, that all of this is very normal. Our systems are trying to adapt to living with less certainty around many basic things in our lives.
Yeah.
And what happens is for a lot of people, we go into our bodies where the weak spots are. You know, if we tend to get a backache, we might get a backache. Of course, some people don't have any symptoms like that, but a lot of people do. One of the symptoms that I find my clients and a lot of people I know have is some form of anxiety. And you can't remember what day of the week it is.
Yeah, that's a big thing they
When.
said on the radio. People
Yeah,
can't remember what it is. And that's funny because we still are
yeah,
doing things. But
yes.
why is that? Why is that?
Explain that a little bit. I've
Okay.
read some of the research. The way the brain works in terms of storing memories is, of course, short term, long term, all of that. But another way it works is it's always looking for markers. So you wake up in the morning and someone comes to the door and says, Debbie, you won $1 million. Here are the balloons and, you know, blah, blah, blah. You
Right.
remember that morning the rest of your life.
Right.
That's a marker for the brain. But if your morning is just the same old cereal and, picking the paper out of the front, getting off the stoop, and just,
Yeah,
routine.
mundane stuff. Yeah.
And you're doing less in the sense you're not even out at the movie house on Saturday night. Maybe you're not out at the Chinese restaurant on Thursday night. It's repetitive. The brain ignores that stuff. It's like, hey, I don't want to see that stuff again. And it doesn't record it in a filing place in your brain. So we really lose the structure that helps us remember what day of the week it is. And it's not that we're losing any mental powers, it's all still there. It's just that our bodies conserve energy in all sorts of ways when things don't seem relevant. So
that's why prison must be bad. I mean, just think
yeah,
about prison.
yes.
That's why you think, oh, well, how bad can it be? They're getting 3 meals a day, and
Mhm.
and whatever. They're not getting put to death or something if they've done something terrible. But it's just the same thing. Walking in the yard.
Right.
It's kind of like a monkey in a cage or something.
Mhm.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one thing I look forward to is more variety in my life when hopefully a lot of this passes, and for all of us, because we need the excitement. And one of the ways that we are finding reasonable excitement today that I'd say is harmless is the all the streaming films like Netflix and all the different companies that now stream.
Watching.
And I was thinking, if this had happened 20 years ago, we would have been much less able than we even are now to get some of that buzz when you're excited over something. And now, for example, for me, there are at least two series that have totally mesmerized me. Like, I can't wait to sit down for an hour in the evening and watch the next episode. And one of
Okay,
the,
what are they?
yeah, I'm going to tell you, one is Schitt's Creek.
Oh,
I
you love Schitt's Creek. You said
I
yes.
love it. I think that there's a piece of all of us in one of the major characters. If you look and you examine, they are dealing with exaggerated but real problems that we all deal with over a lifetime. And they're adorable in their own ways. And if I see the woman who plays the wife and mother, I see her go into her closet and hide there. Now, I've never really done that, but I get it. I think I could do it. I don't want to do it, but I get it. And the next time she puts on a white and black outfit that is totally unsuitable for this small little town they now have lived in a motel, the next time she dares to walk out in that crazy outfit, all I can think is, I've done that 100 times myself, not
Uh-huh.
wildly, but I'm at the edge of the spectrum because I love Bohemia and all,
Right, yeah, yeah.
just talking about that. I love that stuff.
Yes.
And the other program that I'm really crazy about, Crown.
I
Now,
loved it this year.
yeah. Now I realize that it's fiction when you hear them talk. No one, that's not an exact
Oh,
script.
but boy, is it great this year.
But it does take history into account in many, many ways, and you can learn a lot. And those people younger than myself, and there's lots of them, you may not have experienced much. History is so poorly taught and whatever.
Yeah.
It gives a sense of going from the Second World War and on into many of the things that as a world we've dealt with since then. And I like the Queen. I think she's a classy lady. I like.
What season are you in now?
Well, we started with the first. We're
Okay.
not the
I
second.
finished it now, of course. And this year, I actually like it the best. And this year is going into Prince Charles and Lady Di and all the
Yes.
kids. But the thing that was really interesting, and I'll say this, is last night, and it is on demand, great performances did 50 years of masterpiece theater. And Julian Fellows was interviewed, and he said the reason it's so good, like Upstairs, Downstairs, Downton Abbey, these shows, is because even though the characters are so well developed, and it's kind of like a soap opera, they're telling all about history. And it's a very soft way that you get involved because of the beautiful writing, but you're also learning. It's the
Hmm.
greatest medium. They should make these kids watch this stuff in school because, I mean, I remember being marched down to a theater to see Marie Antoinette with Tyrone Power and Norma Shearer. And I mean, I knew everything. I was so interested in the French Revolution and that whole thing. And it was really a great movie. It was relatively accurate. But that's why The Crown is so good. And they went through all the shows that were the most instrumental. And I wrote them down because there's some I heard of the name, but I never watched them. And now
Hmm.
because of the pandemic, I'm going to put them on my Netflix list and watch them. You know?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I've been entertained and had a chance to catch up on some of my own projects, and it's very, that part is very nourishing in many ways. So it's very complex, and still I want all of us to be past this because it has its underside, which is very scary and can take people's lives, you know.
You feel I'm going to ask you kind of a question. When the vaccine comes out, are you going to be the first in line to take it if you can, or do you want to wait and see how people do?
Well, I'm not going to be the first, but as soon as my uh, doctor says it's okay, I will go. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
I would like one medical opinion from somebody I trust. And if he says, well, gee, Barbara, with your particular background, I think if you could hold 2 months and wait for X vaccine, you know, I would honor him. I would honor the science
Yeah.
I trust.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, but I do visualizations. I do imagine myself in line going for the shot.
Okay. All right.
I think that's very healthy. It's always good to put positive energy and thought out there. Mostly to,
I Yeah, I haven't even gotten my flu shot yet, and
yeah,
I've always usually gotten it by October. But I don't know. It's just things are just weird, you know. You just I don't know. It's just I don't find myself thinking or doing what I would do normally. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it's really, it's going to be an adjustment for our brains to come back to a more normal setting. But we will do it. We very quickly acclimate
Hmm.
as humans, you know.
Yeah, we try to. It's a little
So
hard to acclimate when you're older, though. We're not as wildly, flexible and pushing the edge of the envelope as we were when we were 30. That's for sure.
well, that's for sure.
Mhm.
We're wise and we have a lot of stored information in there.
Yeah, I know. I think I have to cut this open and shake it upside down, and then I
Yeah,
can let more stuff
yeah,
in. But why don't we segue
yeah.
now to a little bit more uplifting? How about let's talk about Thanksgiving a
Yes,
little
let's talk about it.
bit? Okay. Well,
Well,
um, we were going to talk over the years, like our memories, and actually, Thanksgiving was kind of weird for everybody this year. But I do have my tiny little group that is kind of quarantined all by themselves. So I had people here, and it actually was really lovely because for the first time, I felt I didn't put any effort into it, which sounds ridiculous, but I did go to culinary school and I always got to impress everybody. And this year I just went, I'm going to cook a regular dinner. I didn't even put the timer in the turkey. I made the basic stuff. But of course, I put the zhuzh in it. And it actually was so relaxing that I wasn't running around with turkey grease falling on the floor and, all exasperated with stains on my shirt. It was like I was very calm, and it was a really lovely, lovely time. And my family, my family were big traditionalists, so every holiday was really wonderful. And my mother was a great cook, and it was we had lived in a beautiful home, and it was just it was just great. But before you tell your story, I used to do one thing, and it sounds like the snobbiest thing I could say. And don't judge me, people, but I rode my whole life horses, and we always had a fox hunt Thanksgiving morning. And I would go hunting, and my mother would, they would just say, "Why do you have to go do this? You're never going to be here when by the time we eat. You're going to come in with smelly boots with horse manure on them and be all scuffed up and crazy." And I would go like, "Yeah, I'd go." There was a beautiful property in Middletown, Laura Harding's estate, and I used to hunt with the hidden hollow hounds. Well, my mother was right, because one Thanksgiving, I was jumping a wall. It was like a stone little wall with my horse, and he bolted, and I went head first into the stone wall, and of course my horse took off, and they all run by, the people hunting, and then my horse ran up, and it didn't have a rider, so they got me. I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks with amnesia. My
Amnesia.
I didn't even know my parents for a
Oh
week.
my God.
I
Was your head hurt?
I got beamed. Oh yeah, I got beamed, and I had a helmet on, but it broke the helmet, and that's how hard I hit this stone wall. But yeah, that was a ruined Thanksgiving for my family, because they were at
Sure.
Monmouth Medical Center with me. So that's my
But you recovered completely, I would gather.
oh, that's probably why I can't remember half the stuff now. No, I did, but and that was one of the many horse injuries that I. If you're around horses, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
It's
How
just,
old were you with that one?
I was in high school. I was freshman year high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't have anything in that category, but I will say that my mother was a wonderful cook also with special things. And Thanksgiving dinner was an absolute treat. The turkey was moist, the stuffing was heavenly with mushrooms and walnuts and onion, all sorts of things. And she always made a jello mold.
Oh, I love that.
Somehow that was part of
That was the time period.
was the time we always had string beans with the mushroom sauce on them. That was the time also. And I have one funny story, and I get a kick out of it every year, and it makes me so close to my parents. My parents, for whatever reasons, I have no idea why, because they were financially comfortable. My father was a professor. My mother was still teaching school when this would happen year after year. Their oven went bad, and they could only use the top for pans,
Yeah, like frying pans
yeah,
and stuff.
exactly. They never replaced it. I don't understand why. They could go down in the basement and turn it on for something like a turkey or a roast, and then they would turn it off. So we would go to visit, and we would sleep in the room that was next to the kitchen. And of course, because we were young and indulging ourselves that this was a mini vacation, just because my mother got up to start to stuff the turkey and everything, we didn't. And so my mother would say to my father, "Now, Harry, go down and turn on the oven. Don't forget, watch your head," because he had to go down the stairs, and he was 6'4", and there was a curve and where a corner, and then it was lower. And we would just lie in bed, and he'd say, "Okay, Bernice." And then we hear him start down the stairs, and the next thing we would hear was, "Ow!"
Every time, huh?
And my mother would say, "I told you, Harry, watch it." And that was probably repeated many
That's
times.
funny.
It was very cute.
That is so strange. How did they turn an oven on from the basement? How do you do that? It's just,
They must, it must, I honestly don't
I
know.
know. So,
You know, you
yeah,
know how there are things that you just live with in life
yeah. You
that
don't think
we
about
don't know, and that was one of them.
it.
So
Okay.
that was what happened in the old days. Now, for my Thanksgiving this past week was also very sweet and pleasant because what my husband and I did, it was just the two of us, but we zoomed in, invited and zoomed in many of his relatives. And in families, you can't put both sides together. It's just like
Yeah.
everybody knows each other. They wouldn't know what to say. So we did Russell's side of the family. And everyone we invited came in for at least 15 minutes.
Okay.
Stayed a couple of hours. Many didn't. They probably wanted to eat, by themselves or whatever. But we got to see some babies we had never met. We got to see some kids that, you live away and you don't see people. And
Yeah.
it's just, it gets a very weak fiber. And this kind of brought us together. And it was wonderful. My son and daughter who don't live around here anymore, they came in, and my daughter had my granddaughters. It was really fun. And
Hmm.
this is again one of the amazing differences. If 20 years ago there wouldn't have been this, of
How
course.
did you do it though, Barbara? Because your computer is in this room and your kitchen
Yeah.
is far away. What
Well,
did you do?
well, actually, I had cooked thing. Actually, it was very hodgepodge. It really was. I mean, I did have a turkey breast, and I made stuffing. But what we thought, what happened, and there was no going back, was we had to sit in here the 3 hours that we had invited people, and we'd snack once in a while. I'd bring something in, but we ate like 5:30. That's the way we did it. There was no other way because it was
Right.
insulting to people. Like, we're going to go and sit in the dining room, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it was worth it. It was really worth it to just
Good.
be with them. So
Very cool.
yeah, the other thing we were going to do, but maybe you already did it, was a strange story on Thanksgiving out of the past. And I have one.
That was my horse thing, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So, my brief story out of the past, which I had forgotten, I really had to kind of retrieve it. Um, so it's very unusual. Um, I was living up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and one of the part-time jobs that I had was with a company that was a creative thinking company that did inventions, and the man who ran it was extremely brilliant, William Gordon. He's now passed away many years, but he was a genius. When you feel you're just sitting at the feet of one of those exceptional minds.
Right.
And what happened was my parents came up or they were coming up, and my husband and I were newly married, and I was still working for Mr. Gordon part time. So something came up, and I think I was so naive. I think it was wrong what we did, but I don't think it was something that'll be punished in heaven. I mean, it was just a kid, just doing her thing. I mentioned to him that we didn't really have Thanksgiving plans, and I think I was edging for an invitation.
Hmm.
Okay. Not so smart, but hey, what did I know at 23? So
Yeah.
of course he responded. He had a lot of manners, and he responded, well, I'm going over to so and so's house, and it's sort of an open deal. I'm sure you and your parents and your husband can come. And he made it sound like nothing, like we were going to have hamburgers after we finished work, you know,
Right.
because he had that level of bearing.
Hmm.
So I fell right into it. And off we went to his friend's house on Thanksgiving, the four of us. And guess who his friend was? Now, you know, young people, this may mean nothing, but I think you'll get it. His friend for many, many years was Al Cap, the great
Oh,
cartoon.
wow. Yes.
Yes.
It's
So,
cartoons,
you
right?
know, here he's taking these drag-alongs to Al
Yeah.
Cap's house,
Oh, wow.
and we're introduced to him. And of course, he was world famous for his Little Abner
Yeah.
cartoons and everything. And I think even controversial because of the way he embedded some political stuff within the cartoons. Um,
Right.
and he was gracious, and we all ended up around a great big table, and everything was warm and friendly. He had been born in New Haven. My father was born in New Haven. They were approximately the same age. He was Jewish, although he never, I guess he changed his name, but I think they had a little bit in common. And then my mother, who was still very stunning at that point, um, for her day, the I think Al Cap had a little crush on her. There was like a corner of the room where they seemed to be pretty happy, talking and everything. And so the day passed, and I had no regrets. Till many years later, I realized some of the, just you have to be so know a lot about life to know when to put people on the spot and when not to,
Yeah.
you know. But so that is my secret life with Al Cap.
I like it.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
great. That was great. I love that story. We could do that. We can do a show where we accidentally or didn't know that somebody was going to be there like that. I have a story like that as well, and but it has nothing to do with Thanksgiving. So maybe we'll save that
Okay.
for another show.
Oh, good. It sounds
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yes, I
Precedent.
want to
I should
hear it.
write that down. Where I showed up to a lunch with an interview of somebody for one of my films, and well, I kind of started telling you. Maybe I
Yeah,
should just
tell
tell.
us. We can finish the
Okay,
show with you
I, I
telling
had
it.
a documentary that I did, Snake Hill, and for a big long documentary, getting the music just really appropriate is very difficult. That was very hard. So we were interviewing people, and the man who did the soundtrack for Pollock, starring Ed Harris, was willing to meet us in New York. But the problem is a lot of people, even when they saw the movie, they couldn't channel the right music. But I found ultimately the greatest guy to do it. But he said to me, we'll meet you in New York City for lunch. But my friend's in town and he's with me for the weekend. Would you mind if I brought my friend to lunch? And my partner and I said, no, sure, who cares? We're just going to talk to you and try to, see what you're going to charge and if you can do it. Well, so my two partners were very much younger and they were not from the New York tri state area. And we sat down to lunch and he said, this is my friend David. He's here for the weekend. And I don't know if you know it, but it was David Byrne, who's the head of the band, the Talking Heads. And he had a show on
Oh,
Broadway and everything. I mean, big musician, big group, the Talking Heads. And he didn't even introduce him like he was famous. He's like super famous,
mhm, mhm.
And I was the only one who knew who he was because my two younger female partners in the movie, they didn't know who that was because I'm 20 years older than they are.
Mhm.
So that was really strange. And I did say to him, "You're David Byrne," and he said, "Yeah." And it was just like he was insignificant at the meeting, and he was huge. He's a huge rock and roll star. So that was
Yeah,
something. That was
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. That's
Yep.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Um, I think that
So
people that huge, still are very ordinary in many circles with their friends,
right.
and when they're relaxing, and that's the way it is,
Yep.
So,
Well, why don't we talk about the play?
yes, let's do
Okay.
that.
You want to describe wild fantasy
Yes,
that
yes.
Russell created in a way?
Well, this is the first of two. The next one will be focusing a little differently, but yes, it's a wild idea. My husband Russell and I were fascinated by the concept of altars. And we all have a certain amount of altars. Sometimes it's just a change in mood, but we can be very different depending on where we are and what the circumstances are. So we started to play around with this concept. And the name of this particular play, because right now it will be a play, um, I hope it will move into also a film at some point, um, is I had an affair with my husband, or did I? Or did I? So, what is the did I all about? It is all about a husband who is who accidentally falls into a way to make his wife much more attracted to him. And the way he does it is with an altar who suddenly appears with a different
You mean like an
accent.
alter ego?
Yes, an
People,
alter
they might not
ego,
know what an alter is. Yeah.
right, who has a different background and a different voice because of where he has grown up, this alter ego who is in this fellow's head. And there, I can't really go too much into it because it's too intricate. But when you see us perform it, you will understand the subtleties and the the what it'll make you think a lot about how we behave as people and whether how far we take our fantasy life. And it's a lot of fun. It's just going to be an awful lot of fun.
And we think we're not sure yet because it hasn't done any rehearsal, but we just finished casting it, and I believe that we're setting it for maybe a January 5th date.
Mm-hmm.
That it will be on Facebook, so people will be able to see the play. And it's done well. Barbara, you've sent the script out to a couple places. It's done. It's done
Yes,
very well, right?
I'm amazed. I mean, it's really either been selected or got an award wherever it's gone so far. And I think we have to praise Frank Nuzzi for that, a lot of that, because he writes a great script. I can go on and tell you all the details and the basic plot, but that is not the same as organizing a script.
Right. Yeah, and we have a nice cast, really a really good cast, and it's entertaining. I mean, it's a regular. I think the play is, I don't know, it's about 25 minutes long.
Yeah, it's about 25, 27 minutes. Like
Yeah,
the first one, Life is Complicated.
right,
And actually, the cast, although the cast won't be exactly the same couple is portrayed in this one. In Life is Complicated, they're younger. They're maybe in their very early 30s. And she's trying to get pregnant, and there's certain issues going on, and life is complicated. And this one, they've moved ahead. They're probably closer to 40. And but it can very well be the same couple and dealing with different attractions toward each other and the pull away from each other. The what happens, it's 7-year itch, all these things. Life is complicated and never steady, never totally steady in a couple in their
right.
relationship.
So
So
that's an endeavor that'll be, we're rehearsing through December, and then probably the first week of January, if it works
yeah,
out, we will
and
have.
it'll be easy for everyone to see it because you can watch it on YouTube, you can watch it on Facebook, and I'll put it up. We'll put it up on Vimeo, so that people can why not enjoy it? This is a
Right.
time to
Yeah.
give our gifts as best we have them to help each other through all this.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of stuff tonight. What do you think?
Mhm. Yeah,
You ready to sign off yet,
I
or do you have
think
anything else
so.
to talk
Yes.
about?
I just wish that cat had walked by us again. So,
Holstein was out here. Now I
so
have a dog, but
yes.
she's laying on my bed asleep. But
Okay. Well,
that was
that,
great.
yes, it was great to have that level of humor.
Yeah,
So,
that was
yes, I think we'll sign off. It was great talking to you as usual, Debbie. We had such fun. And we'll say goodbye to everyone who's been watching us tonight.
and
And
we should be
we'll-
back in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's
yes,
kind of weird with the Christmas season coming up and Hanukkah, but watch for it on Facebook. We always tonight I did post it a little late. I had the closing of the house today, so I was out doing that. But um, you look for it, and we usually do it Monday or Tuesday night. So yeah,
and if you have a funny story, please get in touch because we can either tell your story or even work out a way that you can pop onto Zoom for 5 minutes.
that'd be interesting.
We're looking
Yeah,
for interaction.
exactly.
So,
All right.
okay.
All right, so we want to thank Shared Universe as well for helping us all this time and accommodating this and getting this tech stuff all together. And from our houses to yours, have a wonderful week. And I think
Stay
we have
safe.
light at the end of the tunnel here coming
Yes.
up, hopefully.
Yes.
So, all right.
Bye for
Thanksgiving,
now.
everybody. Okay. Bye.